Good morning, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Today, this weekend, actually, is Andrew Plank's birthday. So happy birthday, Andrew.
Happy birthday.
And with me today, I have
January Burry with Remax Camosun.
Yeah, and January and I are going to be discussing the foreign buyer ban. But before we get started, we're just going to go over what the stats are for this week. So it's January 16th, and here we go. So net unconditional sales for the past week have been 74. That's compared to 474 for the month of January. And that's compared to 26 for last week. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can also see that new listings have increased by quite a bit, which is great news. So a lot more options on the market, and active listings is roughly the same, just a little higher.
So we're at 379 new listings for this week compared to 190 last week, with a total of 1670 overall. And that's up from 744 last year.
Yeah, that's great.
Actually, interestingly, I was going back to old PowerPoints and I saw one from July, and it feels really slow compared to July. July was a very busy month.
Yeah.
But it's seasonal, people. So that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. And for our listeners, we have new listings at 6 compared to 53 last week. So that's interesting to me. I guess a lot of people were getting their house on the market quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully that increases next week. Maybe it's just a lull.
Yeah. Pending are 2 compared to 6 last week. So those are listings that people have removed their conditions for.
Mm-hmm.
Price decreases are 5 compared to 25. So that means that more listings are finding themselves on the market. I did notice a listing I showed in December, which was not very nice. I got 3 offers.
Really? Wow.
And you want to go over the solds?
Sure. So January 16th, this week, we're looking at 27 sold. Compared to last week, we had 32 sold. And then less expired. So only 11 expired listings this week compared to 21 last week, which is good.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So probably those contracts were written in December. I know one of them was mine, so that was good.
Yeah.
All righty. So current foreign buyer rules. We do have a foreign buyer ban here in Victoria, not ban, but no, in BC, I would say, that discourages foreign buyers.
A tax.
A tax.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. We now have a ban as well, so you're right.
Yeah. So I had a buyer who bought in January of 2018, and then in February the rule came out, and they had the option if they wanted to discontinue, knowing that it would cost them 20%. They were from the US, and they decided to continue on because they felt that just brought the market up to par with where they were in the US.
Interesting.
So
that tax is not nothing. I mean, it's 20%, which is quite a big increase if you're looking at purchasing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's only in BC, if you're a foreign national or a foreign corporation, or let's say you're purchasing with somebody who is non-Canadian, then they must pay their portion of the foreign buyer tax.
And this is going to be separate to the foreign buyer ban, which has just come in. So that's an important piece, is that if you are exempt from the ban, which we'll go over who those people are, but you are a foreign buyer, you will still have the 20% tax.
Right.
Yeah.
And I put a link to these, which I'll put in the chat right now, actually, just so that people can look these up if they want. So this is the link to the foreign buyer tax areas. It's not throughout the whole of BC. It's mostly in the major metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, So how the current foreign buyer tax works is if you were buying new construction $750,000 home, the extra taxes would be $200,500 compared to a Canadian buyer that would it just cost them $37,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, it's not nothing. I'm surprised that they were okay with that. I mean, yeah, that's a lot. But I guess with the difference in the dollar, right? Kind of makes up for a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is something to discourage foreign buyers. Now we have a Canadian rule. So do you want to go over it? What the purpose is?
Sure. So this is now a foreign buyer ban, really, that is meant to prohibit the purchase of residential property by non-Canadians. It's really meant to kind of address this issue that the foreign ownership was making housing prices unaffordable for Canadians. It's meant to help cool the market a bit, and it's meant to help reduce the foreign money in real estate. And basically what it's saying is that if you are a non-Canadian or a non-permanent resident, you cannot buy residential property in Canada for the next 2 years.
Right. And this is based on a perception, I just want to say.
Yeah, it's completely based on perception. I think the real amount isn't the percentage of actual foreign buyers in BC like spectacularly low, like 3% or something. So it's not, I mean, it's all just kind of reactive, but we're in that climate right now.
Yeah.
The coolest hot market we're in.
Right. And so a lot of people feel that this rule came in way too late.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stats of where foreign buyers are coming from, as in non-BC people, I think it is less than 3.5%. Most of the people who are moving here are from Alberta and Ontario.
And we just actually, Jane and I watched a really interesting presentation on the amount of people from Canada moving to BC right now. And it's just like waves and droves of people coming out west because it is best. And they're the ones that are really buying up all that real estate with their Ontario dollars.
Yeah. And just for the record, I saw a listing in Ontario. This woman reported it. It was listed around $800,000 for a home, obviously underpriced. And it sold for 1.23. It had 23 offers. That was in Toronto.
That's still happening for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So a non-Canadian is defined in this new act as an individual who is neither a Canadian citizen nor a person registered as an Indian under the Indian Act, nor a permanent resident. They cannot be a corporation or that is incorporated other than under the laws of Canada. They cannot be an incorporation whose shares are listed on the stock exchange and that is controlled by a person who is a non-Canadian. And so if you have ownership in a company and 3% or more is by a non-Canadian, you will not qualify to buy any property. And I think that's on the next slide. And residential property is a detached home or similar building containing not more than 3 dwelling units. And it is a part of the building that is a semi-detached house, row house unit, residential condominium unit, or similar premises, or prescribed real property. They also mentioned that if you you cannot buy property that is zoned residential.
Even if there's not a home on it, right? Just the land?
Even if it's just the land.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
So one of the things that somebody mentioned, I'll show you all the resources at the end, but the legislation does not contain an exemption for investors from the United States, the European Union, or the UK, or any other of Canada's major trade or investment partners. So they think there may be some pushback.
So that these countries wouldn't allow Canadian buyers, right? Theoretically, would put prohibitions on Canadian purchasers in their countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Places like Portugal, have similar sorts of bans, but it's more like you can't live in the premises for more than 6 months.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so those exempt. You want to go over that?
Sure. So if you have refugee status and you're fleeing international crises and you've made the official claim, or you have received temporary residential status, then you would be exempt. It also doesn't apply when you are gifted the property or receive the property through divorce, separation, death, or when the acquisition is a result of exercising security interest or secured right by a secured creditor. And it does not apply to those non-Canadians who are looking to rent a residential property. So rentals are still fine. And the loophole is non-Canadians with a spouse or common law partner who is Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or person registered under the Indian Act or refugee are also exempt from the ban.
So if you're willing to get married, you can buy property.
Yeah, I mean, it works out. Have a party, buy a house.
Yeah, and I think the middle paragraph here about acquiring it through divorce or separation is more that it's not intentionally purchasing for the purposes of investment.
Right.
It's more, it's happenstance.
Yeah.
Another exemption is for international students, temporary residents, or exempted foreign nationals, and as we mentioned, refugee claimants. And there's some instances where they have to be filing taxes. So temporary residents living in Canada, if they filed income tax returns for the last 5 years and have been in Canada for 244 days in each of the 5 preceding years and have not previously purchased property. And they are also saying that it cannot be more than $500,000, which would mean a condo in Victoria.
Mm-hmm. I have an interesting, so I was a permanent resident in Canada before I became a citizen. I'm from America originally. And this whole idea of how many days you stay, how many years, when you submit for your residency, you have to submit to the government like exactly where you've gone, what days, and they check that with passport information to make sure you haven't left the country longer than you're saying. In real estate, it's interesting, how they're going to define, like, yes, I'm a temporary resident. And so but I've been filing taxes and I've been here the 244 days in each of the 5 years, like as a real estate agent. And am I going to be asking for their travel documents and adding up the days that they say that they've been here to make sure that that's correct? Like, it's an interesting, just because I know how much work that is, right? And it's not really something that I feel equipped to do.
Well, there is a form, and I'll show you the form that realtors can use with their clients so that they can make sure that they have done their due diligence. So
Right.
They've asked the right questions.
You're asking, but there's no fact check as far as I'm aware, correct?
Yeah, and the penalty is
$10,000.
woohoo. Better do it. Okay, so it also doesn't apply to census. It does apply to census metropolitan areas or census agglomerations, which was a new word for me.
Mm-hmm.
So a census metropolitan area has a population of at least 100,000 people with at least 50,000 living in its core, while a census agglomeration has a core of at least 10,000 people. So I went looking to see what was a census agglomeration. And I went to these sites, which I will put in here. Hold on. Let me just put them in here. And I found out that in Greater Victoria, anyway, we have a little map. So that was nice. And so if you look, it basically incorporates all of the CRD area. So out to Souk and all of the islands.
Yeah.
And the population of Greater Victoria is $415,000. And I think Victoria itself was not that. It was 318,000. Okay. So, and then Duncan is the other agglomeration near us. So there's a population of 48,000. And you can see between the two, in between, so just north of that is the Malahat. So this area, this green area, So
Mhm.
I believe that that is exempt.
Because it doesn't hit the population quotas, right? To be part of the banned areas.
So I think you would have to just be sure and talk to a lawyer.
Yeah. Also, I mean, just looking at where the yellow is, like this has come up before, but can we get a little bit more like micro in that? Can we see streets? Can we see, delineation of what, like you're looking at a house and you're right on, let's say, the outer red edge of that line. Where does that line finish and start? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely a little bit more information needed in order to feel super confident if you're bordering those areas.
Yes. And what's interesting is looking at the population little graph there on the bottom right there, you can see about 300,000, I guess, in the year 2000. Now we're up at over 400.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, agreed. And there is a resource by a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, Ajula, which people can access as well. And I'll find that information as we're talking.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the form that a realtor can use. It's called Certificate and Consent of Purchaser Individual, and you should be putting it in your kit. And you ask the buyer to fill this out, that they make this certification that they wish to purchase residential property and that they are not a non-Canadian, or they are a non-Canadian as defined by the Act. However, they are exempted from the prohibition due to the following exception, and then they have to provide evidence.
Now, would you keep evidence of their declaration here, like as part of the contract, or just separately in your files in case you're
separately in your files?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it says, I understand this information will not be disclosed to anyone other than my realtor and the associated brokerage.
Sure. Okay.
Unless required by law.
Which we hope we don't get to.
Hold on a second. I'm just finding that lawyer. David Ajula. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but anyway, if you are, here is his information. Okay. So if you break the rule, $10,000, and that's if you knowingly help somebody. So I don't know how you prove that. And the buyer may have to sell their property.
Interesting. So buyer may have to sell their property. Is there any information about timelines for that, or in what cases that would be mandated? That seems very vague to me.
Well, first of all, it would have to be proven. So I imagine what they're going to be doing now is looking over all the purchases. And I guess when we have to declare where somebody's from or put it on the contract,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think what happened was they came up with this law.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And this happens all the time. Okay. So these are all the sources of information, which if you want, I can send to people. I went to various lawyers and universities and newspapers, as well as the government. So, alrighty. Any questions? What do you think about this, being a former non-Canadian?
I'm fine with it. I think that I'm not fine with it. I feel like it's a little too late, and I don't think I really understand how they're going to police this. What, other than having the form and having the declaration, what the follow-up is going to be. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think it's a political move to make the government look good, but I don't think it really has any teeth.
No, I mean, it's kind of hard because there's been 3 pieces of kind of new legislation that's come in this year. And I feel like all of it is, a bit missing the mark in terms of what they're really trying to do, which is increase housing affordability in BC, right? And housing availability. So affordability and availability, does it have a lot to do with the things that we're enacting? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, and I will say, like, there's been a definite shift in the market. You know, even just working with buyers who are on the lower end, where previously there was absolutely nothing for them to choose from.
Yeah.
Now there's choice.
Yeah, and that's good.
Even though we don't have a ton of product on the market yet, I'm perceiving that we're going to get a lot. So
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you know, you're looking at raising interest rates, and it really does price out those first-time home buyers that are saving for their down payment, you know, trying to qualify for the mortgage that they're looking to get, and then you keep moving that benchmark of where they have to qualify, and that's affecting the first-time home buyers more than it's affecting, you know, really other people in the market, right? If you already own, then you know you've got a little bit more options there, but yeah, it feels, you know, it's an interesting time for sure to be, I think, a new home buyer. You do have more options, you know, available to you, which is great. Prices have corrected a bit. You know, you're not seeing, you know, insane overbids like you're maybe seeing in Toronto still, and you know, in our market currently. So
yeah, actually, that's a really important point, that really what we should be looking at interest rates. I totally get it with inflation. I mean, even to buy a sandwich now, what used to be $5 is $10. What used to be a light lunch is $20.
Yep.
Like, it's expensive out there, folks. And, you know, it is really the first-time buyers who are going to be affected by this more than anything else. And so maybe they should be looking at interest rates as opposed to foreign buyer bans.
That would be an option, but you know, we don't make the laws yet, so until we come up with our own land and our own law system, this is where we are. So
okay, so that's about it for today. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
You're no problem.
Andrew again, he's enjoying his time.
Yes. If people are interested in watching, we are on every Monday morning at 10 a.m. So please subscribe, and please come to the Victoria Real Estate Show. We are on Monday mornings, 10 a.m. And we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and anywhere where you're looking on our podcast. So do you want to just exit out, tell us who you are and how we get in touch with you? I don't think I have you on.
So again, it's January. Oh, perfect. Look at that. It's January Burry at Remax Camosun. You can reach me at 250-418-0518 or at january.burry@gmail.com. There's only one dot there. .com.
Okay. And my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. And you can watch videos about real estate at briarhillgroup.com. Or if you want to see these videos and information about neighborhoods, visit vancouverislandtime.com. And of course, I'm on Instagram as Realty Teacher Remax Victoria and Vancouver Island Luxury Living. And what is your handle on Instagram?
Oh, at January Sells Vic.
Okay, January Sells Vic. Okay, everybody, we'll see you next Monday morning at 10 a.m. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.